earlier this week are going to San Francisco. Well, not San Francisco. They're going to Arizona to take on the Arizona 49ers. I mean, San Francisco 49ers, who are 5-7, are coming off a tough loss on Monday night after Josh Allen torched their defense. Now, this Washington football team isn't just coming off a big win or the biggest win of their season. They're coming off one of the biggest wins of any team this entire year, slaying, the mythical giant, the Pittsburgh Steelers and all this and that. And Alex Smith was bleeding from his leg, and I started crying because, oh God, he's getting hurt again. I got nervous. I really got nervous for
Are
a
you
second.
literally crying?
Yeah. And now
That's
they get to go on the road and take on their former lover and Kyle Shanahan. And for this preview, I want to take everybody on a little trip down memory road. And that in a not too distant past of like almost 10 years ago, Kyle Shanahan used to be the offensive coordinator for the Washington football team. He was the offensive coordinator under his dad, an NFL legend, Mike Shanahan, who was the head coach for the team. And towards the end of both the Shanahan's tenure, things got a little testy in Washington with leaks that were always rumored to be from the organization, that Kyle Shanahan wasn't, well liked around the team facility, and that he wasn't resonating well with players. And then it ended in 2013 when the Washington football team fired both Kyle and his dad, Mike. And that never set well with Kyle. And, he bounced around a couple of different teams here and there. And then he ended up in San Francisco where he became the head coach. And these two teams actually played each other last year in Washington. And reporters asked Kyle Shanahan, about his time in Washington. And he said the best part about it was he got to work with his dad and do all these cool things with his dad. And they asked him what was the worst part. And his exact words were, and I quote, "Everything else." There is no love lost between Kyle Shanahan and the Washington football team. And the 49ers did win a very sloppy, monsoon-drenched game in Washington last year. And I worry that this game in Arizona is going to be a lot similar, except without all the rain. I think it's going to be a heavy defensive showdown, especially since Washington's going to be missing star running back Antonio Gibson, who left the game against Pittsburgh early on. It was his first rushing attempt to what looked like a knee injury at the time, but as we found out on Wednesday, it's a turf toe injury, which is the worst news possible at this point, because that basically means he's more than likely not going to be playing in this game on Sunday, and he might miss next week as well, because turf toe is a multiple week injury. So Antonio Gibson's out. That means J.D. McKissick, who got a lot of playing time Monday night. Was it Monday night? Yeah, it was Monday night, when nobody expected him to, is going to be back in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how they change their rushing attack. Are they just going to do a bunch of dump offs like they did with them last week? It'll be interesting to see how Washington pushes that going forward. But with how we know San Francisco wants to run the ball, we know Washington, they're not going to air out a bunch of passes. They like to do, simple stuff and let their defense play well. I think that's going to be the kind of game we get, just a sloppy defensive showdown. And we were really kind of, coming around on San Francisco last week when we talked, they could potentially make some noise coming down the stretch. And it felt like some people jumped off the bus after the Monday night game against Josh Allen. I'm going to take San Francisco to win this game, but I could easily see Washington coming out of this one on top.
As you said, it was the defense that was credited with the win against Pittsburgh the other day. That, I mean, if they're missing offensive pieces, they still can get after San Francisco. I, as a Cardinals fan, had to have been happy seeing San Francisco lose the other day, because I really thought that they had a playoff push in them. Now it just seems that they're one game too far back, literally a game too far back. If they'd won against Buffalo the other day, they would have been tying with the Cardinals. So, I mean, it's because I think that they can win games like this still. Again, I picked them against the Bills last week. I still think they're feisty and they're getting pieces back. And what pieces have been left anyway were clicking. That I still respect Washington and I still favor them for the NFC East, even though a lot of places are leaning on the Giants. But I'm agreeing with you on this one. I'm going with the 49ers. I think that they still have a bit of juice in them, whereas Washington has been too hit or miss for me all year. I mean, at the end of the day, they got an unexpected win the other day, but otherwise, people would all be on that Giants train. And there's a lot of hype around them this week, and it's been coming for a while. Don't get me wrong. We thought they were going to make jumps earlier on in the year, but like the Kyle Shanahan story isn't to be underrated either. These things often have a way of working themselves out. So call it karma or whatever. But if he wants a win, he might be able to go and get one.
Listen, if Kyle Shanahan could blow them out 55-3, that would be perfect for him. And I promise you, he has talked about that to his players, that he wants this game bad.